Alright, so I'm going to do a reaction on was James Blunt video secretly about Hayden Panettiere's before she passed. She kind of exposed it to one of the interviews she did, and she said somebody from England, famous, prominent, I don't know whether she was a director or something like that nature, and this one predicts it was James Blunt. So I have to find out to see it for myself to see if that could be him. I don't know. It could be anybody. There were so many artists out there in England. Well, hold on a second. My microphone. Not bad. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, yeah, but there's so many artists out there in England that are famous, rich, and powerful. I don't know if James Blunt is in that lines, because I know he's an artist, but I don't know if he's rich and powerful. Who knows? Maybe he is. But we'll see. Let's see what this video has to say. Yeah, thanks for joining me today. This is another reaction from The Truth Is. Be sure to check out the channel, hit subscribe, like, forward to everyone as well as mine. And let's proceed with the video.
Video was all about Hayden Panettiere. The visual depicts the artist driving a boat with a man looking like this in the background, who seems to become dinner by the end. This music video was quite dark, and a lot of people think it reveals the key to a very important mystery. After seeing it, many are speculating that it was somehow referring to Hayden Panettiere, who did an interview detailing a situation that happened to her on a yacht. They claim that the artist in this video, James Blunt, was openly hinting at being the mystery man she was referring to. Today, we are going to look into this bizarre theory and all the evidence that people claim points to it, and try to figure out exactly what this new James Blunt video was really telling us. We have all sadly heard the news about Hayden Panettiere. I again want to say rest in peace to her and send my condolences to her family. It is always crazy to me just how many of these stars from when I was younger are no longer around. Most of them were still young when they passed, like we saw with Hayden. Since her sudden passing, a lot of people have been re-watching her public appearances and interviews. If you saw my last video on her, then you know one of her last interviews has gone completely viral due to what she alleged about a mystery man on a yacht.
I realized that I was in danger, but by the time I'd realized I was in danger, I was quite literally out to sea. And it was that moment shook me and was shocking. And I was quite literally walked down, and I had been having a great time. There was no hints of anything like that happening, so it took me, I was shocked. It took me by surprise, and it was led by somebody that I had grown to trust and see as a protector and somebody who had my back. And to be walked down, down the stairs, and it was like a surprise, presented as though it was like a surprise. And it was this very small room, and she physically put me in the bed next to this undressed man who was very famous, and had his hands like this, like this was just an average day for him, and this is something that happens all the time. And I waited for her to leave, and I mean that lion in me, that fire in me, that my hair stood on end, and I became ferocious. I was like, this is not happening. But I had nowhere to hide, and I bolted, and I hid wherever I could think of to hide on a boat. There was no jumping off and swimming away, and there was nobody who was going to, I realized that there was nobody who was going to be empathetic to my situation, that this was nothing new to them.
I dare you.
Well, I don't know about, that could be truth or lies, but who knows. But you're on a yacht, you're on a boat, there's only so much you can hide without jumping. And the captain is going to figure it out where you're going to be, because the captain knows where everything is going to be. So you're either going to be in the cupboard, the engine room, or up where the captain is at. So I don't know. That's Sounds of desperation. So anyway.
In her book, she mentions more details about this terrible day. While she still doesn't name who the person was, she gave just enough details that people feel they know who it is now. According to what Hayden wrote in her memoir, the man was a huge British star who was in his 30s at the time. She also claimed the incident happened while she was on a trip in France. Now, while technically what Hayden accused this mystery man of might not necessarily be illegal, it was still seen as shady, and people wanted to identify who this person was to spread awareness. With the details that she provided in her book, people started digging, and soon, many were speculating on who they thought it could be. Several accounts online kept spamming the same name. They thought it was James Blunt. He just so happens to be a famous British singer, best known for his hit song, You're Beautiful. Coincidentally, he was also in his 30s around the time that Hayden was 18 and 19, when she claimed the incident happened to her. People also found a picture of the two at some event that took place back in 2009 during the 62nd annual Cannes Film Festival in France.
Maybe.
They were attending an after party at a luxury waterfront hotel where attendees of the festival will party with the surrounding crowd on their super yachts. Because all of this seems to line up with what Hayden alleged, people felt that she was likely referring to him in her memoir. While there was no concrete evidence to prove this, eventually, the internet got its hands on a James Blunt music video that they saw as the ultimate confirmation. The music video for Taste Like Summer was released on August 14th, just 2 days before what happened to Hayden. Now, this video on its own is very dark and is something I would have looked into. But it is when you view it through the lens of this theory that things become quite sinister. The music video starts with James Blunt picking up a hitchhiker off the side of the road. The scene then switches to a visual of the man restrained with a hood covering his head. Eventually, he takes him on a boat, and you can see James Blunt driving him around in the water, having the time of his life. This is the scene that people think is somehow alluding to what Hayden mentioned in her memoir. They point to the video depicting James Blunt driving someone around on a boat and feel that it could represent the yacht incident she mentioned. While obviously he is not on a yacht here, they feel like the visual of it being on the ocean and the person being depicted like that in the background paints the same picture. One thing I noticed is that in the song, he literally sings, "It's like I'm back in 2010. I bring that up because the event he attended, where he was spotted with Hayden, took place in 2009. Coincidentally, he mentioned the exact time frame in which people think all of this happened in this song. Now, I completely understand why people are saying this about this scene. It does look quite crazy how he is driving the man around with a creepy smile, looking quite insidious. But if you thought this imagery was dark, wait until you see what happens at the end. After driving him around on the boat for a while, he eventually takes him to his house. There, he hands him a menu where the entree is listed as "you," implying he was the one on the menu. The video literally ends with James Blunt eating dinner with a woman before kissing the food, seemingly implying that the dish was the other white meat. This was quite a dark music video, especially with all things considered. You have to ask yourself what in the world James Blunt could have meant by any of this. From what I can find online, he and the director Jack Howard referred to the music video as being inspired by an A24 horror film. Strangely, they didn't mention which film exactly. Instead, they just said an A24 horror film like that's a movie and not a production company. Now obviously, none of this 100% confirms he's the mystery man mentioned in the book. Unfortunately, unless someone else comes out and speaks up about it, we won't know for sure. But I don't blame people for believing in this theory at all. When you really dissect everything people are finding, it's easy to see why they believe it. Given the fact that Hayden mentioned a man was a British singer who was in his 30s, and James Blunt was that age around that time. Also, she specifically stated it happened in France, and they were pictured together at an event that took place in the south of France. Then add this with the imagery in his music video, and it would likely lead just about anyone to a similar conclusion. Now, while we don't really know exactly why Hayden didn't reveal the name of the man in the book, I think it could be because she knows naming names could end her career. Maybe she felt that if she mentioned him, she would be cast out of the industry, as it seems to happen to others who speak out. Hayden had been in Hollywood all her life, since she was a small child. She likely felt pressured into keeping his name out of it for fear of not getting any more gigs. While I still think it's important for people who behave like this to be revealed to protect others, I also understand why Hayden will be afraid to say his name. But what do you guys think about all of this? Do you think the theory has some truth to it, or do you feel people are looking too deep into this video? I completely understand why people think this all could be connected. All of the stuff they are pointing to seems to make sense to me. Now, I have noticed some people online, even on my last video, suggesting that Hayden was making all of this up and that this story was a lie. I don't understand why she would make this up. Honestly, what would she get out of it? Talking about things that happen in the industry is the best way to get yourself kicked out. It's not like she was asking for money or looking for sympathy. The way she came off was like a hurt person talking about her trauma. I am the first one to call out the fakeness coming from Hollywood, but I feel like she was being genuine when she told that story. I understand that people feel less sympathetic for celebrities because they choose the industry knowing what is said about it, but I feel horrible for her because she entered Hollywood as a child and had her childhood ruined. She talks about being introduced to certain things in the industry that she was way too young for. She even described being given things to keep her going when she felt like she couldn't go no more.
Somebody who was on my team that I was working with came to me, and it was before this red carpet, and I had been doing Euros, and we did press all the time, and I was a little low energy, and it was, here, take one of these, it's a happy pill, it'll give you energy. So I didn't think of it at the time as like a bad thing or a drug.
How old were you?
I was 16. I got it from Mexico. I should have thought that's so sketchy, but I didn't, because I trusted the person.
Yeah.
And it did give me that little bit of energy, and I didn't feel like high and out of control, but I did feel like happy and like I was looking forward to doing
the life of the party.
Sometimes it really feels like these kids
that was
never
probably
really
ecstasy or some kind of roofers or some kind of energy pill.
a fair chance. It's like putting a goldfish in a shark tank. Something I really think people overlook is the imagery in these music videos. I am glad that people are finally starting to pay attention to what is being shown. I can't lie, this James Blunt video does look like it's telling us something, just like Kanye's recent video. Just the other day, Kanye dropped a music video full of coded imagery that seems to tell us exactly what happened to him. At this point, it seems like they're revealing everything through these videos. So if you want to know what Kanye was saying in his new OK music...
Okay, so yeah, we just did the Kanye one. Now we're just finishing off with James Blunt, whether he is the person that Hayden Panettiere mentioned on the interview he did. I forgot what that interview was, who that was, but anyway, it could be him, it could be not be him, but there's so many English artists out there who's very rich and powerful. But James Blunt, I don't know, maybe, but he did pretty much, look, what, a week before she passed away, he did this video, or was it a week after? I don't know. But yeah, he did this video and kind of predicts what her scenario was with being locked up in a yacht with some guy and blah blah blah. So I don't know, it could be anything, but